So the big question is this: how are gigging musicians like us, who don't make any money streaming, who are spending money from our own pockets, how do we treat our music careers as online businesses in a way that lets us get our music and the things we believe in out to the world, yet still remain profitable? That is the question, and this podcast will give you the answer. My name is Jared Judge, and welcome to the Gigging Musician Podcast. Hey guys, Jared Judge here from the Gigging Musician Podcast. Today I wanted to chat a little bit about persistence. So it's a quote by Calvin Coolidge, and I'm going to pull it up here because it's a really awesome quote. Nothing in the world can take the place of persistence. Talent will not. Nothing is more common than unsuccessful men with talent. Genius will not. Unrewarded genius is almost a proverb. And that was by Calvin Coolidge, and I bring that up because that was posted on the door to my percussion professor, Dan Armstrong's, his studio space in my undergrad at Penn State University. And that quote is how I live my life. When I came to Penn State, I was a violinist who wanted to be a drummer. I had no drumming talent, let's be clear on that, but I really wanted it. I was so inspired and motivated just by the different drummers I've seen in my past. I actually really wanted to be in the Blue Man Group. I took an audition for that. That's a story for another episode. But this quote, persistence, was actually how I got into the percussion studio at Penn State and how I've made music my living now. So, of course, I said I wasn't a percussionist. I was a violinist. Grew up taking violin lessons, and I really wanted to be in the drum line at Penn State. It was called the Blue Band. Very competitive drum line. Most of the members were actually drum corps, students who would go on tour every summer and work up their drumming chops to the very highest level. Auditions were cutthroat and intense, multiple days worth of auditions. And I took a couple percussion lessons while I was still in high school, but not many. Auditioned when I got to Penn State. It was literally the reason why I chose Penn State. Got cut from auditions very early on. Did not make it. It was a struggle. I was very disappointed. I was like, well, what am I doing with my life? I was undecided as a major. I knew I loved music. It had to be a part of my life. So I, again, took some more auditions to be in the percussion ensemble and the wind ensemble. And just like clockwork, I got rejected from those auditions too. It's very frustrating, very disappointing. I was like, well, should I skip all the music and just take some more French classes or film classes or become an electrical engineer? I had no idea what to do. But I came across that quote, and I took that quote to heart, and I said to Dan Armstrong, he was my percussion professor, who I still hadn't made into a studio yet. I said, what do I do? And he said, you have to work hard, be persistent, read that quote on my door, and come back to me at the end of the year, and we'll audition for the studio. Took that to heart, took his advice, and I showed up. I did the work. I persisted. I went to the practice room every day. I learned the etudes and rudiments, the very basics, the foundations of percussion. I took my classes seriously. I took some music classes. Some of my favorite classes were like music technology, and that's, again, another story for another time. But I persisted. I really did well academically because I persisted so hard. And then little by little, that persistence started to pay off. So the very next marching band season, I auditioned again. And the thing that changed this time was because I persisted, I secured myself a spot in the marching band. It was an incredible feeling getting to march in front of, over 100,000 fans in that stadium because I persisted through it. I got accepted to the percussion studio as a major. I didn't know what I wanted to be when I grew up, but I knew I had to be in that studio, and persistence got me there. I made it into some of the middle level ensembles, the bands in Penn State, and eventually persisted to the highest level band at Penn State. I actually also auditioned on violin for their orchestra, despite the fact that I was now a percussion major, persisted through that, and actually got a spot in the first violin section. And then I kept persisting even after I graduated college, got myself a career as a music teacher, and now my persistence is what I teach other musicians how to do and persist with the knowledge that they gained either in music school or not, just in their lives as musicians. Persistence is really going to get you far in life. It's gotten me very far. I love what I do, and I would not be here without persistence. And I especially appreciate and want to give thanks to my percussion professor, Dan Armstrong, for teaching me that valuable lesson of persistence. So if you like this episode, please leave me a comment. Make sure to hit that like button and share if this resonated with you. I look forward to connecting you and helping other musicians with persistence.